Hello, welcome to Melbourne. As soon as you emerge from Flinders Street Station in the city centre, you discover a sporting gold mine. There's the massive MCG, legendary cricketing venue, still the heart and soul of Melbourne sport. There's the Rod Laver Arena. The Russian Marit Safin won the Centenary Tournament and the first Grand Slam title of the year here in January. The Telstra Dome, modern and very impressive, was used extensively during England's triumph in the 2003 Rugby World Cup. Flemington equals horse racing. Since 1861, on the first Tuesday in November, they've staged the Melbourne Cup, the race that stops a nation. This weekend, F1 racing is the sporting king as Jenson Button looks to change the balance of power. The weather's ruled so far. 4 seasons in a day is typical Melbourne. Giancarlo Fisichella's the sunshine boy in qualifying 1. Felipe Massa, the boy from Brazil, he's the fall guy as the rain arrives right on cue. Sato's all of a slither. On the wrong tyres, he plays the wall game on his outlap too. And even if your name's Michael Schumacher, your abilities get sunk without trace. How embarrassing. So, what do we have for race day at Albert Park? It's officially autumn down under. Well, it's dry, slightly windy, the temperature hovering around 16 degrees. Very pleasant indeed. Hello there, good morning to you all back home. It is absolutely brilliant to be with you once again for another Formula One season. We really do appreciate your company. Live is always best. Well, we've had a second qualifying session this morning. Nothing has changed either. Giancarlo Fisichella in the Renault remains on pole. We'll have the best action for you from that very shortly. They are all poised. All the speculation is about to end. It is time to deliver. We've had huge changes since the last race in Brazil 4 months ago. Let's start with a reminder of who's doing what in F1 2005.
Nothing much has changed at Ferrari. That stability is good news for the team, not such good news for its rivals. They've got the same championship-winning driver lineup of Michael Schumacher and Rubens Barrichello. They've even got the same car for the first few races at least. Definitely one of the class acts of the field.
BAR Honda's winter testing has not been trouble-free, but they come to Melbourne confident of a result. The target this season to win races. The men to do it, Takuma Sato and Jenson Button.
Renault looks to be in pretty good shape this year. The R25 is quick and it's much more drivable than its predecessor. That's great news for Renault returnee Giancarlo Fisichella and teammate Fernando Alonso, who together make one of the most exciting driver lineups in the pit lane.
The message this season from Williams: don't expect too much too soon. But engine partner BMW can't wait forever for a world championship. Meanwhile, it's all change on the driver front. Mark Webber gets his chance to shine in a top car, and he's joined in the other Williams by German Nick Heidfeld.
McLaren is threatening to bounce back with a vengeance. The team will benefit from running a third car in Friday's sessions, and the battle between ice-cool Finn Kimi Raikkonen and fiery Latino Juan Pablo Montoya promises to be one of the stories of the season.
This is Sauber's last season with Ferrari power. They'll be BMW's second team next year. For now, though, they field Jacques Villeneuve, who must prove he still has what it takes, and Felipe Massa.
The name over the door at the former Jaguar stable isn't the only thing that's changed. There's a new owner, new management and a new driver lineup. David Coulthard's experience will be invaluable alongside the youth of Christian Klien, but there's some rebuilding to do after the recent turmoil.
Toyota need to start delivering some results in this, their fourth season in Formula One. And to show they're serious about it, they've hired two race-winning drivers, Ralf Schumacher from Williams and ex-Renault pilot Jarno Trulli.
The cars are still yellow, but virtually everything else has changed at Jordan. New owner Alex Schneider's installed two rookie drivers, Portugal's Thiago Monteiro and India's first ever Formula One star, Narain Karthikeyan. Powerful Toyota engines will be a help, but the team still faces an uphill struggle.
Minardi have started their season in controversial style, but now must turn their attentions to what happens on track rather than F1 politics. Like Jordan, they've also got two rookie drivers, Austrian Patrick Friesacher and Dutchman Christian Albers.
Tony and Mark have joined me here in the paddock. Mark, let's look at Ferrari's challenges. Those Renaults look good, don't they?
The Renaults have been impressive during the winter gym, during testing, but we've got here at Melbourne and they've certainly been on the pace. Carlo Fisichella has been impressive throughout the weekend so far, but these guys are definitely ramping it up against Ferrari and McLaren.
McLaren had a really bad time last season. They're looking in shape to bounce right back.
Yeah, an embarrassing fifth overall in the championship. They spent a lot of money on two different cars, but this MP420 is really very good indeed, and they've got an explosive driver combination. They're going to be a huge threat to Ferrari and others this season.
Are we expecting too much from Button and BAR?
I don't think we're expecting too much from Jenson, because I think we all know he can get the job done. What I'm a little bit apprehensive about is whether BAR now can sustain what they managed last season, second in the constructors, but whether they can be a big team and maintain that level of performance, we'll have to wait and see.
Everybody wants Webber to deliver here, but BMW Williams might just not be ready to do that yet.
Well, unfortunately, they don't seem to have started with the great car that they wanted. They'll have to develop it during the season. They're a little bit shaky on the aerodynamics department, and BMW, obviously looking at other teams, they'll be strong as the season progresses.
OK, thank you very much, both. Well, throughout the weekend, we've been getting to grips with extensive changes to the sports rules and regulations. Watch carefully now. Louise Goodman, she's got the knowledge.
The 2005 rule changes are designed to improve safety by reducing overall cornering speed, to cut spiralling running costs and to ultimately improve the show, providing Formula One fans with more of what we love best, breathtaking action.
Basically, the difference for 2005 is that an engine has to last for 2 race weekends, where last year, after the race weekend, we were able to change an engine for the following race. This year, we're not allowed. So the engine we're running here in Melbourne, we will also have to run in Malaysia. If for some reason we can't, and we have to change it for whatever reason, we get a penalty of 10 places on the grid.
Clearly, it's going to mean reduced laps at full power in practice sessions, because although we've had a winter of testing to improve the life and durability of the engine, it's never enough. And all the engine manufacturers, I'm sure, are a little bit nervous going into this Grand Prix.
Basically, they consist of 3 areas we've had to change. The front wing, which is lifted up further away from the ground and therefore is less effective. The rear wing, which has moved forward. And the diffuser, which contributes a lot to the downforce, which has been cut back a little bit. Initially, we were looking at 25, even 30% reduction. And by this stage, as we get to the first race, it's probably a little bit over 15.
They do feel a bit different, you know. Some drivers are saying there's a big difference, some are saying there's nothing.
We can feel this loss of downforce, but not as much as I thought probably when
when the season starts.
The Friday morning and the Friday afternoon, we use one set of A and one set of B per car, so they can compare. Then you decide Friday night which type, whether A or B, you will run on Saturday and Sunday. Saturday morning, you have the set you used on Friday, plus 2 new sets of the specification you have chosen. For qualifying first session and qualifying second session and the race, you're supposed to use the last new set that you had. It's easy, isn't it?
The same set of tires for all the race is going to be very difficult for us, especially the last 10-15 laps. It's going to be slippery. We're going to make a few mistakes.
I think it does mean that you have to use them until the checkered flag, and whatever is necessary you have to do.
See, guesswork even from him, Tony, isn't it? What about engines lasting for 2 Grand Prix?
Well, it's the engines and the tyres, Jim. I mean, it's going to be the Car Care Grand Prix. You may as well take a nurse along with you to make sure that those tyres last till the end and the engines last for 2 races as well. The thing for me is with the reduction in aerodynamics and the harder tyres, it means a greater driver input, and I'm all for that.
Car Care Grand Prix. You as an ex-F1 driver, looking after your car might not have been top of the list of priorities, if you see what I mean.
No, I think actually all of us out there in the pit lane would prefer to be 100% flat out at all times, but the regulations are such now, and that's what they've got to deal with, and it's all about driver and team management and making sure that they get the best out of what's underneath them, and that critically is the tyres, as Tony says.
Will the look of the pit stops during the race change very much, bearing in mind that they can't change tyres?
It's going to change to exactly that point now. You won't see 4 new tyres going on when they come into the pits. You're just going to see the fuel going in, but what you will see is those cars leaving with worn tyres and a load of fuel and some real skill behind the wheel.
As Fisichella, our pole sitter, saying, at the end of the race could get very, very tasty, couldn't it?
And especially for Renault, because they've been very kind to their tyres, and in winter testing in the last 10-15 laps their tyres have been very strong indeed. But what you don't want is to see the carcass of the tyre or it's starting to wear down. You're in big trouble then.
OK, let's just take a look at qualifying, shall we? Just to underline it for you, it is split into 2 sessions, one on the Saturday, the other on race day today. Aggregate times count towards the grid. Commentator James Allen has the full story.
For a rookie driver, doing your first F1 qualifying session in the wet is a daunting prospect, but Narain Carter-Cayan did well. Jenson Button set a good time, but then dropped down the classification as the track dried out and the lap times tumbled. The Williams pair of Nick Heidfeld and Mark Webber followed each other out. The Aussie was far more confident. He set a lap 3 seconds faster than his teammate. Drivers were still on intermediates. Fastest of all at this stage was Jarno Trulli in the Toyota. Arguably, it was time to make the switch to dry tyres.
Bottom oversteer, very firm.
Coulthard chose not to, and his intermediates were cooked within 3 corners. Villeneuve took the gamble. He almost lost it on the warm-up lap, but he posted a great time. Everything fell into Giancarlo Fisichella's lap. He set a blistering time for provisional pole.
I'm happy. Offshore, I'm even very lucky, which is very unusual.
Then the heavens opened again. Massa on dry tyres was all washed up.
Felipe, it's raining heavily on the end. It's raining heavily, be careful.
Even Michael Schumacher, the Rainmaster, was powerless to tame the conditions. His time, 24 seconds off the pole. Then came Takuma Sato.
Hey, Taku, obviously you have to make your best attempt, but you have tomorrow morning as well, so don't take too many risks. That's too late, folks, too late. I couldn't do anything.
And that was only his warm-up lap. Alonso, Raikkonen and Montoya, all of whom fancied a shot at pole, were all frustrated by the conditions. For the second qualifying session on Sunday morning at 10 o'clock, the teams were allowed to play around with the fuel loads a little bit to try and improve their grid position. But surely with such big gaps between the cars, no one would unseat Fisichella from that pole position. Second qualifying session for the Australian Grand Prix here at Albert Park in Melbourne, and well, 3 men who had a big problem yesterday in qualifying: Michael Schumacher, Takuma Sato and Felipe Massa. We've seen Massa not even putting his overalls on here this morning, not even bothering to go out. Takuma Sato has had an engine change. He's just putting in an installation now. Michael Schumacher also had an engine change and has gone straight into the pits. So a bit of a flat start to this second qualifying session. Fernando Alonso then, 5 seconds already faster than Ralf Schumacher. His target certainly to leapfrog Thiago Montero's Jordan, get himself up to 15th, and then maybe, if any problems before Raikkonen, Montoya and Barrichello, he might even get a better start. He wants to be in that scrap though, Martin, with those big names in the middle, doesn't he?
Yeah, frightening amount of understeer he had in the fast chicane, and that's what